Hey chess friends, National Master James Cantor III here with Chess.com, and today we have Game of the Day with Tata Steel Chess 2021. With the white pieces we have Alireza Firouzja, and with the black pieces we have Fabiano Caruana. Let's get right into it, guys. Here we go. We have e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop c4, an Italian game, the quiet game. Sometimes they're boring, sometimes they're super exciting. What happened, right? Bishop c4, bishop c5, and c3. More of a gioco piano type stage, just saying we're going to play d4, but this is one of the moves that you play in the Italian game anyway. Knight f6, and after knight f6 attacking our pawn, we could play d4, but a lot of these times these games can be drawn very quickly, and black gets very dynamic play, already being ahead on development slightly. Knight f6 and then d3 from white, just saying we're going to keep it close for now. I'm going to play d4 at the right moment. So after d3, there's d6 from black here, opening the bishop line. Pretty simple moves here, guys. Stuff straight from the book. Nothing surprising at all. h6, stopping bishop g5, which is quite annoying because the bishop cannot break the pin, so you would have to be forced to play moves like g5 and other things. So h6, there's rook to e1, putting the rook on the file with a smile here, and we're actually going to defend e4, and d4 is going to be our intention, with now e4 being defended after rook e1. So rook e1 after castles, there's knight b to d2. Simple development, guys. Simple development. Bishop to b6, and then there's a4, which is a move that's played in many Italian games, mostly all of them, if you're playing it correctly here. a4 is expanding on the queen side here, grabbing some space, and then a5 stops that. If we play a6 instead, then we have b4, which is now more space for white on the queen side. So a5 being a move, the pros of it, it gets space. We stop b4. The cons is that if we're able to ever take on b6, then we have to take away from the center, damaging the structure, making this pawn very weak. But this is a fine move. a5, and then there's bishop b5 from Alireza. Bishop b3 has been a move in many positions, many games you can check. Bishop b3, even bishop a2 being moves, and bishop b5 in many cases, threatening to actually capture here and damage the structure. Now, in these quiet games, or the Italian games here, sometimes you can see dynamic play and lots of attacking chances for both sides. Now, after bishop b5, Fabiano says it's time to attack. Just like that. Knight g4 hitting f2 twice here, so we have to defend it by either rook f1, but we've already moved this rook. Why wouldn't we move it again? So rook e2 makes the best sense. After rook e2, there's knight to e7, stepping out of the way, so there is no doubling of the pawns after the capture now. But after we play knight e7, the problem is we've removed our knight from the defender of the d4 square. So actually, Alireza takes immediate advantage of that and plays d4 here. So now we're going to press forward here with two pawns in the center. Pretty nice, and black plays knight to g6. That was the intention anyway, to jump around this way to the f4 square. In positions that are slightly closed and of course locked centers like this, now they can be open in any instance, but you have many times where you can maneuver. You're allowed to make maneuvers like this because you want to refrain from moving pieces many times in the opening. Now, after knight to g6 here, there's a great move that you could play here, but actually Alireza, knight f1 is not a bad move, it's not the best move, and we'll talk about why actually knight f1 is not the best move right now. The best move is actually rook to e1. Now, after rook to e1, why is this the better move? Well, let's take a look at rook to e1. If rook e1, knight f4 is the intention, so he just goes into f4, which is a very annoying move. These knights have to go. If they cross the line here, anytime they cross into territory, they need to go. You got to get rid of those pieces, or they're just going to bring friends, and it's going to be a party that you're not going to like. So there's two knights here, just attacking everything, right? This is not fun. We got to get rid of them. h3. So he kicks one of the knights. He goes back home, and then after he goes back home, this is a very hard move to find, but here it is, knight to c4. Now, the reason why this move looks kind of weird is like my bishop's immediately trapped. But if we do immediately trap the bishop, well, that's the intention. That's why we played knight c4 to capture on b6, allowing our bishop to remove itself if we need to. And we're also attacking the rook if you try to take our bishop. So you have to take here. We remove the knight from f4, attacking e5 another time. And after takes on e4, we remove our bishop. But now b2's hanging. What happens if he takes it? Takes it, rook b1. And if queen c3, not for me. That queen's gone. That queen is out of here. Okay, that's a trapped queen. Start a new one. Or queen a3, then we play queen to c2 here. And this queen's very short on spaces, so d5 would be necessary, but makes a type of concession here that black really doesn't want. And also this pawn being extremely weak, queen looking crazy, undevelopment here. This is not the position that we want. So going back to the position, instead of c6 after knight to c4, there will be bishop a7, keeping the long range going here. And now we do d takes e5, attacking the knight. You don't have time for c6. So after captures and some more captures here, we now have our bishop being able to move, and this knight was hanging, so he moved it. bishop to c4 now, and now white has just a nicer position. It's just a little bit better, slightly better here. The bishops look great. Of course, we have some pressure here, a great knight on e5. This is just not what black really wanted out of this situation here. And this all happens after rook e1, which is a slightly better move than what Alireza played in the game, which is knight f1. Why is this slightly better? Well, of course, now black has counterplay that he immediately finds here with the move d5 from Fabiano. Strong move, extremely strong, because now look at all the captures here that can happen. And if we open up the game where we have bishops, I mean, look at the bishops pointing this way. We have knights on this side of the board already. This bishop's here, knights on this side of the board. The queen can come over eventually. This doesn't look that fun if we open up the board, and this is why knight f1 just wasn't the best. After e takes d5, there's e takes d4, making some more trades. Why not? And then after e takes d4, there's h3 to kick this knight away first before we do anything else, because this knight is extremely annoying. So he plays knight f6. Knight takes d4 from Alireza, grabbing a pawn back. Knight takes d5 from Fabiano, and then rook e1, placing our rook back where it should be because it's kind of weird on e2, also blocking the queen's scope. So then knight d to f4, and take a look at this position right here. With all the counterplay that black has here, you can definitely say that black has some heat on white's position right now. There is some definitely some heat going on here. Pretty scary. White still has to develop. So what does he do? Bishop e3. He just, hey, you know what? Hey, we're going to develop and we're going to try to defend as best as we can. Now, this was a critical moment right here, guys. After bishop to e3, pause the video. What actually would you play in this position? Here we go, guys. Now, c6 was the game move. This was the game move, right? Okay, c6 being the game move. But here's what Fabiano could have played. He actually, in a post-game interview, talked about this actually as well. But here's what he could have played. He could have played knight takes g2. What do you do? Like, what is that? Knight takes g2. That's a real move. That is real, guys. Sacrificing on g2. Now, he actually thought for 50 minutes before he played the move c6 here. He was thinking about sacrificing, but he said, you know, I don't want to sacrifice a piece in a post-game interview. I don't want to sacrifice a piece if I can't see it all the way through. And that's 100% a great way to think about it, of course. But here it was, let's just check it out, guys. It's so fun. Like, he could have captured here. Knight takes g2, king takes g2, and then queen to d5 check. There's many places you can go. The best move being f3. We're going to check that last. But let's take a look at a few moves. If queen f3, knight h4, right? So he's not going to do that, obvious. So if knight f3, there's a knight f3 move. And knight h4 still happens here. And the best move in this situation will be king h1. After king h1, we get our piece back. Queen takes f3, takes and takes, attacking the rook. So after the rook moves away, then we have bishop takes e3, trading because we don't want him to capture ours on b6. After trading, then we take on h3, take stock of the position here. 2 rooks for black, so we're looking good. 2 rooks for white, bishop and a bishop, same color. Okay, no, not many drawing chances there. We can fight a lot more. And knight versus knight, but what's the pawn situation? White's down 2 pawns. You're not coming back from this one, most likely. And then you, of course, all rook king games are drawn, but here being down 2 pawns, black's going to play with ease here, trading the rooks on the files and things like that, of course, after blocking the bishop, and then having an excellent game and pushing on for a win there. So let's look at that again. Knight takes, queen d5 check. Instead of knight f3, actually, the best move is f3. But let's take a look at like maybe king h2. King g1 and king h2 are the same move. In a way, it's the same type of moves here. Knight h4, threatening mate, and we great. So we have to play f3 here. f3 blocking the mate. Defending, but we have to remove the defender of the square. So actually that would be bishop takes d4, removing. Now knight takes f3 is a possibility. Bishop takes d4, and then there's queen f5, and we live. Hitting here on h3, the bishop's backing me up here. You can't even defend this, so you have to do something else. King to g3 looks wild, but hey, one of the best moves. Queen takes h3, and then after that's check, you have to move your king to f2. Queen to g2, what do? King e3, and now look at this position right here. This is amazing. You can't bring your king back right now. Rook e2 is always going to be hit with queen takes f3 with huge compensation here. So why don't we just make a move like bishop f5, and we live. We're going to definitely use the files here, cut things off. This is a terrible position to be in, and trying to calculate this over the board is so hard. So that is really tough there. But now let's actually see the best move, which is f3. If f3 happens, when you guys sacrifice a piece, always remember this, when you sacrifice, you have to keep the threats up. So after f3, what's a threat? Well, c5 is a great threat, attacking the knight. The knight has to move, so he moves it. We go knight h4 check, attacking f3 is a thing as well. King g1, queen takes f3 is a move, but practical chances actually will be queen f5. This is a more likely move to make. because there's queen trades with queen takes f3, knight e to g3, and we take on h3, right? So we're making threats. Check the threats here, right? We made a threat on h4, we made a threat here taking h3, and then we make another threat threatening mate, so we defend the threat, and here's another threat hitting the bishop, or hitting the knight with the bishop here. This is crazy how the position's all tied down. Knight has to stay on f1, the queen has to stay around here to defend mate, but we don't have enough yet as black, so we need one more move, or a piece, you know, and a quiet move in this situation would be b6. Quiet move, something we need. We want to play bishop d7, get the last piece into game. And if this does happen, this is over, right? So actually the best move, or one of the better moves, would be bishop c6, stopping bishop b7 from ever happening. And then if bishop to d7, this is crazy. Bishop d7, sacrificing more material here after bishop takes, rook takes, and miraculously, black is doing excellent right here. White is tied down. You can't move the queen. The knight is tied down to the defense here. And we're just going to slowly improve our position. You can't even stop this move from happening. And that's why bishop d7 is so strong. So a trade would happen. And then after something like rook a to d1, queen h3, what a wild line here, guys. Black is still, this is an equal position. Equal, okay, right? Equal, yeah, equal. This is crazy to play, but this did happen on the board, of course. And Fabiano, after making a sign, you could see him over the board as he sighed, making c6, going for this move because he really wanted to take on g2. So now after c6 here, let's go back to the game. We play bishop c4, and guys, let's just take a look at what happened. Bishop c7, right? We're just going to maneuver now. This is more just back to a maneuvering game where black's literally slightly better due to the way these pieces look. Knight to g3, knight to d5. We're just going back home, maybe threatening some structural weaknesses here. And bishop to d2 says, hey, I'll take them all day if you give me the bishop here. Queen to d6, we're going to line up here with all kind of threats that could happen if you're not careful. Bishop to b3, stepping out of the way, preparing c4 in some cases, also bishop c2. Bishop to d7, getting our last piece into the game. And actually, guys, just developing, right? We haven't done development here. Knight takes g2 was critical. And actually, it could have been played all up here. Even here, knight takes g2, and then knight takes g2 again until he removed the knight. Knight takes g2 was there many times, guys, many times. But knight f3 here, rook a to e8. Very slow game now, very slow. And black's trying to do the best that he can here with the attacking chances that he has. I mean, look at black's pieces and look at white's pieces. White's doing quite fine, but I think black's a lot better here. Rook a to d1, we finally centralize everything, and here we go. Rook takes c1, we're going to make some trades here. And black is definitely the one pushing for something strong, but white's doing a great job of defending. Knight d4, rook to d8, of course, putting some pressure on the file, defending his bishop too because it was kind of weak. And then rook e4 from Alireza. This is about to get wild if it hasn't already. Rook e4, queen g6 here, putting some pressure on the file with a smile here. And here we go from Alireza. There's bishop takes d5, knight takes d5, and now this move right here. Knight g to f5. Strong move. Very strong. Looks like it drops a piece, right? But it doesn't. Just showing that. Ouch. That's a queen. That's mean, you know, that's over there. So knight g to f5, strong move. Alireza thrives in tactics. He loves tactical positions, and he's making things complicated with rook g4 being a move. Queen f6, he steps out of the way. Rook g4 anyway, defending the knight, and now threatening rook takes g7. Now, Fabiano actually played g6 here because he didn't like how this looked. But actually, you could play king ha here and daring white to take. Now, if you take with the knight, we're going to take the rook. So rook takes g7, and then that actually loses to c5 because the knight's hanging. Look at this crazy position. So you would think because you have this x right here, you could play rook h7, king takes h7, knight e7. I mean, wild line, guys. This was not a quiet game at all. This is king h8, knight takes d5, bishop takes a4, hitting the queen. The knight's hanging here. I mean, amazing chess today. This has to be one of the greatest games that could have happened of the year. Rook takes d5 here, and we're doing fine. But there's also another line. What if he takes the queen? Then we take our queen. He takes mine. I take his. And then we're done here. Just didn't happen. So actually, Fabiano played g6 in this position, allowing white to get some type of counterplay. So after g6, there's knight takes h6, king f8, rook to e4, knight f4 here. And actually, let's go back a little bit. Rook e4, he's just getting out of the way. The pieces look kind of crazy. My rook was hanging. So he moves knight f4 here. And we're going to see a few more moves after knight to g4. Bishop takes, h takes, and king g7. King g7 wasn't the best because it allowed white to have immediate counterplay. Actually, rook e8 was better just going to an endgame, where, of course, there's double pawns for white. So there's king g7. Bishop takes f4. Bishop takes f4. And here we go. Knight f5, and we live. Finally some counterplay, something we can do greater for this position. So let's see what happens. There's g takes f5, rook takes f4, hitting the f5 pawn. Queen to g5, hitting g4. Let's take a look at what happens on queen takes f5. That's not a move. Okay, check. King h2, start a new game, right? That's just mate, and we great. I mean, absolutely bad for you guys. So g takes f5, rook takes f4, queen to g5. There's rook takes f5 now from Alireza, and then queen takes g4 from Fabiano, threatening rook d1 check. Beautiful move from Alireza, defending with rook f3, threatening rook to g3. So there's queen h5 from Fabi, stepping right out of the way. And then there's c4 from Alireza, c4 being just an advancing move, trying to figure out what's going on. They're also in time trouble as well. So after c4, there's the rook to d4 move, which is pretty awesome, just kind of attacking and keeping it active as quickly as possible. And then there's queen to c3 from Alireza, and look at this cool move. Actually, this is attacked, and it's pinned. So he plays queen e5, but also setting up a deadly threat. So if something like rook e3 happens, rook d1, oh my goodness, you can't move your king. You have to block with one of these, and this is already over. So that kind of sucks there. So you actually can't do that. So after queen e5, there's actually rook d3, says, hey man, let's just get all this off the board. Let's just get it off the board. He plays c5. If we're going to get it off the board, we're going to do it my way. Says Fabi, rook to g3 check, king f8, and then here we go. Captures on a5. So now Alireza is now up a pawn. Rook d1 check, king h2 looks pretty scary for black, but actually we can defend, or for white, we can defend everything. There's a check, rook h3, queen e5 check, and g3. Great move here, okay? G3 just defending and going for more. I'm up a pawn. I'm trying to go for a little bit more here. Queen f5 from Fabiano, threatening f2. Pretty scary threats in some cases. King g2, queen e4. You can be mated. You actually are mated. Like, you can't do that. So he plays queen a8 check. Now if king to g7, you're mated. Let's put that on the screen. Check. King, queen h6, ouch. So he has to go king e7, that's forced. And now we capture a second pawn here. So now Fabiano is currently down 2 pawns here, but it's not over yet. Rook to d7, and then queen h1. What? Who would make such a move? Queen h1. Well, what he's saying is, well, if queen h1 here, I'm actually just going to let you capture your pawn. And this actually was a deterrent to rook d2, because if queen g2, now there's rook d2, which is quite annoying. I mean, and this might be even just a perpetual back and forth, but this is not what he wanted. He actually chose queen h1, giving a pawn back to go into an endgame that he's up a pawn. If rook d2 happens, sneaky little threat setting up, queen e1 check, ouch. Thank you, appreciate it, have a good day, right? Queen e1 check, that's not a move. So queen h1, after queen takes f2 check, there's queen to g2, defending everything. And of course, this is the line that happened here. And Fabiano could have captured first and played rook d2, but he actually just chose rook d2 first, keeping the king on h2 actually. Smarter move because the king would be a little bit more active. So queen takes, rook takes, king to g1. We have a captures on b2. Now they say all rooking games are drawn. Fabiano is now down a pawn here. This should be an easy draw here, especially with these pawns not being connected, the rook not as active. This is going to be easy, clockwork. Rook h5. And then rook to a2, attacking the a4 pawn. We take on c5. He takes on a4. There's king to g2, king d6, guys. Pretty easy stuff. This pawn's going to be attacked here. These pawns are going to offset each other. So, I mean, this is the only thing we're working on. The best defense against these type of pawns and offense is always being behind it. So after rook d5, there's king e6, rook d4, king e5, rook f4, f5, of course, pushing forward. We're not allowing you to press forward as well. King h3, and then after rook a3, they agreed to a draw here, as the next defense for black is going to be behind the pawn here and even shuffling in some manner, but many ways to draw here, even sometimes shuffling the king in the right moments. But they agreed to a draw here, guys. What a wild game today that ended in a draw, so maybe a quiet game after all. But of course, this was today's game of the day. I'm National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave comments under the video, guys, and we will see you on the next one.